going to happen in about a month. And in about a month is about Thanksgiving. So eat your turkey fast, because we got something coming out that you can make your Christmas holidays if you concentrate on this. But what we're doing is we're going to bring out biological hydrogen. And we have developed a powder in a stick that you can dump into a bottle of water, and then you just let it react for 5 to 10 minutes. You can shake it a little bit and make sure, of course, the lid's on with it, and you'll watch it as it sits there, and it'll go from clear water, and then you'll start seeing streams of different compounds coming up. And what those compounds are is basically two things. It's hydrogen and oxygen independently, and they're formed by splitting water. So water molecules H2O. So when you split that, the two hydrogen, which is attached to the oxygen, they actually pair together, so that becomes H2. The oxygen wants to pair, so it finds a oxygen from another cell that has deteriorated and formed the hydrogen, and it forms O2. So you have two independent factors. You have massive energy in hydrogen. All life on Earth would not exist if it wasn't hydrogen coming from the sun that was there. And it happens throughout all your body. And hydrogen, biological hydrogen production is the last, or close to the last step of creating electrical energy. And so it's so vital to turn up the light bulb so it glows bright. And that's what we're attempting to do with hydrogen too, because it has some amazing properties with it. Now, if you think about oxygen to start with, of course we get a lot of oxygen from the air, even though it's more polluted. But you'll notice one thing with athletes, they have a VO2 factor, and that means they hit a certain threshold of exercise, and they can't go beyond that. They're trained out at that level. There's studies on hydrogen showing that it can have up to a 20% increase in VO2 max, which is stunning for athletes. I mean, really stunning. So biological hydrogen, you have to understand one thing. It's the smallest atom and thus the smallest molecule in the universe. And with that, all based upon size, it's unstoppable. It penetrates through anything, any cell in your body, through the blood-brain barrier. It means nothing to hydrogen. And you can flood your system with hydrogen, and then as you see hydrogen in its role in supporting energy and metabolic activity and many other things that it does, then you have a flood of oxygen that is there to support this great increase in biology. Now here's a good point. If you took a person that was short on oxygen and you gave them a drink or a glass of superoxygenated water, they can actually absorb oxygen in their system faster by drinking that water and having it pass through, because it does it so quickly, than if you were doing heavy breathing, even on a respirator. It's been said. So you have a lot of oxygen. But now we go back to hydrogen, the miracle molecule. And you think NAD is a miracle molecule? It is. Here is so the H pill is an A++. Well, here comes what I think is an A+ product, and it's going to run right with it. Now, Sisel Rip is going like crazy. It's coming up too on Picoidin, and so it's an A product, or maybe an A+ product. But this hydrogen is, for many of you, you'll think it is the very best of it. And for me, I believe the H pill is, but I wouldn't be without this hydrogen. You feel such a difference in it. Here's the biggest thing. Hydrogen is the most powerful antioxidant probably found in nature. It goes into every cell, and so it can neutralize all kinds of toxic metals and all kinds of carcinogens and other toxic ingredients that are within the cell itself. And the reaction in breaking them down creates water. So it's not like you have any residue of anything. It just creates water. And as it breaks down toxins, makes water out of toxic materials. It's really quite amazing. But researchers have tucked away for a long time different treatments to work with health problems and aging. But the real answer has been under the nose all the time, and it's hydrogen. And hydrogen, of course, is everywhere. As we talked about, comes from the sun. It's converted into chemical energy throughout our bodies, and then is taken to all the cells in the body, where it becomes a big factor in NAD and ATP, and then biological hydrogen is released, and that's energy. Cells attain what's called homeostasis. And homeostasis is that it is at the maximum desirable levels to function optimally. You could overcharge a cell, but not with this material. It'll build it up to homeostasis better than anything, and without exceeding that I know of. So if you look at biological hydrogen, or hydrogen, let's just say, you could breathe it, and it's actually very good for you. But it's expensive, it's cumbersome, you have something up your nose. And with this, you can make it right within the bottle, and within 10-15 minutes, you'll notice a couple of things that will happen. As you put the bottle in, it will be quite flexible. But within just a couple of minutes, it will become very firm, like the plastic is much thicker, because it's creating so much hydrogen and oxygen, which expands and takes out space and puts pressure on it. And after 5 or 10 minutes, if you take the top off the lid, you can actually feel some gas escaping because it's producing so much. So when you drink it down, then you're replenishing your body with all of this hydrogen. The most impressive benefits it has is this is the King Kong of them all when it comes to supporting a reduction in oxidative stress, which is the single greatest aging product or factor that you have in your bodies. So it's very effective on doing that. But it has so many other things. It's really a factor that boosts your body's production of a very important hormone called ghrelin, and it's responsible for protecting the liver and cardiovascular system, the brain. In addition, it can improve cognitive functions and memory and prevent neuronal inflammation, which is one of the problems they're having with concussion, but other brain damage too, which means it could be really quite useful for a variety of things. Concussion is one, dementia, Alzheimer's. Those are and studies that you will see on it if you put them into PubMed and you put that in Alzheimer's, you'd see studies come up on hydrogen that would shock you and same with other things because it's that powerful. So anyway, there's other things that it can do too. Hydrogen therapy is so good for athletes. So here's something that I want to advise you that you can do. If you notice you go to a football game or any really types of sports where there's a lot of exertion, when they have a timeout or a break or anything, the first person on the field is the water boy with bottles of water so they can rehydrate themselves. And every football team and basketball teams and soccer and real active sports like that rush water out so the body can keep hydrated. When you have hydrogen water and superoxygenated water, as this combination is, it rehydrates, revitalizes, supports the creation of massive amounts of energy, and it is very significant in supporting the accumulation and buildup of things like lactic acid and other things that gives you the soreness. So what does it mean for an athlete? If they take it before, they can exercise at a higher VO2 max than they've ever done before. If they take it during, they're going to rehydrate themselves light speed compared to what water will do just in the body with it. In addition to that, it's going to extend their stamina and strength because it's not letting the higher levels of lactic acid and other compounds that cause the soreness and the stiffness and wear you out to accumulate. And then on top of that, you have, of course, all the energy and health benefits. And with football, as many of you know, and now they're looking at many other sports, concussions are so bad. And in fact, as anyone's played Little League football, by the time they're an adult, they have some concussion damage, but not that you would notice. But if you looked at the brain, you could see the ripples in the brain where they've had compounds that hasn't caused them to lose consciousness or anything like that, or to go into a state of concussion. But it's small damages that occur and build up over a lifetime. With some athletes, they get a big whack, and then you do get a concussion with it. Well, there is nothing that I know of in this world that has the potential to support the body's needs, the brain's needs, as well as soft tissue also within the body, like hydrogen can. So if you have athletes that are working, or anyone that is at all, of course their energy is going to be higher, they're going to work at a higher level, they're going to not fatigue and tire, and they're going to recover much faster. But the other thing that it does is that it's very powerful for muscle exercise-induced muscle function decline or damage that occurs from overdoing. And I'll be publishing a bunch of studies on this on our science page on the web that will show you all this. You have to look at the independent studies because we can't just write it up ourselves. DSHEA, Dietary Supplemental Health Education Act, says you have to do that. So that's what we'll be doing. So with that, can you imagine the advantage a football team would have if they went out and instead of getting water during the breaks, and even before, they would be taking this diatomic hydrogen water, superoxygenated water, into their system. They're going to play better to start with. They're going to last longer. They're going to have more energy. And after the game is over, they're going to have much faster recovery and rebuilding and all of those things, taking them to levels, potential levels, that were once thought unattainable, but now are very achievable with what this product does. Now, there's so many benefits with it. I'm looking at a study right here. It says molecular hydrogen affects body composition, metabolic profiles, and mitochondrial function in middle-aged, overweight women. So, I mean, how's that for a definitive study, particularly on that? And it is. And then here's another study, and it's hydrogen-rich water affects blood alkalinity in physically active men. And, of course, with that, they're talking about metabolic acidosis that men get from doing a lot of exercise, especially if they're getting older, and it has a much greater effect on them, or if they're involved in any type of fitness program. And so here it comes along and affects, remember I was talking about the buildup of the things that causes the aching, and besides lactic acid, well, here's acidosis, and it comes through and takes care of that, along with other things. Here's a study of effectiveness of oral and topical hydrogen for sports-related soft tissue injuries. And this is talking about its great improvement on less damage, faster recovery, and better health because of it. So with all of these things that we can talk about, and there is a list. I don't want to, here it's talking about alleviating damage induced by sepsis. And then there's the actions of molecular hydrogen in the body, and it goes through and lists them. And I mean, it fills up, let me look here real quick. Well, it fills up 2/3 of a page with it. It's antioxidant, free radicals, these are categories, anti-inflammatory, cell signaling, metabolic syndrome, insulin reduction, glucose intolerance, obesity, hypertension, fatigue, energy for organ function, gastrointestinal function, inflammatory bowel disease, pancreatitis, liver function, chronic pain and inflammation, immune function, allergy, autoimmune, cognitive functions and neurodegeneration, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, stress-induced cognitive decline, abnormal cell division. And there's a lot more than that. So, I mean, some of these that aren't even listened to, we're talking about weight loss in women and greater strength and neutralizing one of the most serious health problems, especially in athletes and aged men, that's there. So that's a lot to say. First I was going to talk about this alone, but the age pill has got so many new improvements to it. Everything that we've had in it before we have. Some of it we've adjusted and made more concentrated because we found studies that are showing certain levels which exceeded what we had seen in other studies, so we just take it up so it's hitting those factors. But we've got two products here that are going to blow the doors off everything. You can take this hydrogen water, and you will find that you'll just feel the energy. And if you take it continuously for about a week, you won't want to be without it because your body just responds so quickly to the enormous supplemental energy and all of the other factors that are involved with the hydrogen that it's self-evident. And so if you look at using that in conjunction with the age pill, what have you got? Well, you got one and you got the other. So 1 and 1, in this case, equals 10. That's the difference. It just has such enormous power. Age pill will work. This will make it work even better. And so I've said things go better with the age pill. And about everything that you're using in dietary or nutritional or dietary supplements falls in that category. But the same can be said for hydrogen. It has in a whole different pathway everything to complement stem cells and NAD production, and then a lot more, a whole lot more. So this product will be out in a sachet. You can dump one sachet into a regular 16-ounce 500 ml bottle, and that works. If you're just taking a glass of water, then a glass of water is about half that, so you use half a sachet. And the sachet is, you tear it in half, and you can dump in half and then just fold it over and put it in your pocket at first and save it. You can just seal it. It's pliable enough that you can just bend it around so it seals, and then you've got it for the next time. So it's extremely powerful, and the levels of it we have the water machines that are out, which are extremely effective. But this one, I probably overbuilt it. But I wanted to give it everything that I thought I could in so many different ways. I won't go through all that, but it should be equal to the hydrogen output, 15 to as many as 30 times more than the hydrogen machine itself will. Now, I'd always have the hydrogen machine. I've got it on my counter. I use it every day in spite of the fact I have this other. Because in one glass of water, I want a glass of diatomic hydrogen water. I don't want water. And my body doesn't like water so much now. When I drink it, it always comes to my mind that I should be drinking the hydrogen water because that's what happens. It's like a craving you get because it is so good for your body. So I've taken up all of the time and some that I wanted to, but I'm telling you, this will be out. And it will be out, I think, by Thanksgiving. So as a result, with the hydrogen, and we're calling it Super H2 StiX, S-T-I-K, that will be out then, and you can start selling it, a box. And look at this for an outrageous price. A box of 30, which, well, if you do bottles, that'll last you for a month. If you do half of that, it'll last you 2 months. But anyway, 30 of those that you use cost $29.95 as a distributor. Can you believe that? Less than $30 for that? This will just blow the doors off everything. Look at the power. Look at the studies that we got. And when you've got all this to show somebody, you've got a lot to really sell because this has got what nothing else in the world has. And you can talk to so many people, no matter what age they are, even if they're young people in fitness, they would like to have a higher VO2 max level. They'd also like to have less fatigue and stamina and faster recovery and faster muscle building and support and all that. This is what it does. And then if you get talking to how many football teams you know that's in your city, in the junior high, in the high schools, at the university level, don't they want the competitive advantage? And that's what hydrogen water is. So if you present this and put it together to the coaches, these are trainers if it's a larger one like a university, you go in and talk to the coaches about this and you show them what's there, say you can have a big advantage. You'll see it in playing with your people. You'll see an increase in performance, strength, energy, recovery, potentially less damage. Certainly, it is incredibly powerful for things like concussion and head trauma of all kinds. And this is a product that you can have every day, and you'll be at least 20% higher than your competition. But in some areas where it has to do with cognitive function and damage that occurs with it, you'll have even more tremendous product for it. So at $29.95 for a 30-day supply or a 60-day supply, depending on how much you want to drink, you've got the most incredible product based on the power of the sun, biological hydrogen water, and super oxygenated water all right within your body, because you have put in this super H2 stick, and it has created it right in front of your eyes. You'll even see the coloring change in the water, go a little grayish with it, but it's filling up with hydrogen, and that's where the coloration is coming in to it in large part. And so get ready to go crazy. I mean, you ought to be going crazy at the age, Bill, because this is the greatest product in the history of human health. Man, this comes right along with it, doesn't it? Don't you want to be using it? How many of your friends and family, if you see these studies and things like that, would want to use it? So I'm going to rush to get studies on the back office with it. It's going to be out in about 30 days. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to produce about 5,000 bottles to start with. It's just the materials are so exotic and difficult to get that we're limited by a couple of the agents that are in it. So they have to build up, because there's nobody really doing this, they have to build up their reserves as we do, so they can use to maximize promotion. So what we're going to do is the first 5,000 bottles, and we're going to sell them first come, first serve until they're gone. We want to get as many out as we can, and we realize 5,000 is not going to do it, but when they're gone,